I did want to talk about tools because it's an interesting concept and it's an interesting thing for new trainers. I know we've got a couple of conference virgins. We've got some people that are brand new as far as training, and we've got people who have been around the block a few times. So when does training begin? The minute your dog walks in the house. Okay? You know, we have a lot of people that tell you they're opportunists. I think they're specialists. Okay? And just like with specialists, you get better and better at what you're doing. Okay? They don't care if the kids went to school. They don't care if the car is new. They don't care if the house payment's made. What they care about is how they get their next whatever. Here's some tools. We have so many tools out there these days, and this is just a partial list. So we have training collars, the infamous choke collar. Now, I said I would tell you one piece of equipment that I think is the most dangerous it is, and that's this. And it's only because it's sold like this, with no instructions, nothing on it. You pick it up, it's got a price tag, you buy it, and that's it. Okay. Doesn't tell you how to use it properly. Prong collars, or pinch collars, okay? We have them come into our shelter where they have sharpened the edges because they didn't think it worked properly. Had a little Dalmatian come in, you know, thin-skinned little Dalmatian who had 2 red marks all the way around his neck, looked like, you know, tear here type thing, okay? Because he had tightened him up because he didn't, or sharpened him up because he didn't think it was working right. Flat collars, we all know what flat collars are. Martingale collars are a half-check collar. Premier makes a lovely one, and so a half-check collar or a martingale. This happens to be the one that all of our dogs in our daycare have to wear. If they don't own one, we provide them with one. Because if there's one thing your dog will learn, first time trial learning, dip your head, step back, and wahoo, I'm free, okay? So with this, they can't do it. So we like the half-check collars. We use those. Head halters. There are a variety that are out there. You know, we've got the halty, we've got the snoot loop, we've got the gentle leader. My preference is gentle leader. Doesn't mean that it's the right one. Okay. I don't like the snoot loop because it's a little thin across the nose, and if the dog continues to pull, it digs into their nose. The halty, it's got an unadjustable strap here, so if your dog isn't the perfect size 6, it's not going to fit properly. So I like the gentle leader better, but it doesn't mean it's the right one. And then the newer one that's come out is the canny collar. And with this, if you guys are familiar with the gentle leader, you know it hooks up under here. Okay, and I always tell my clients, this is the exact same piece of equipment I used to have on my stallion, and I guide him around. And if he didn't walk out politely, he didn't get to see the girls. That didn't make him happy. So I like this an awful lot, because if I have an aggressive dog who's staring at somebody, y'all know that if he's on a collar, we can turn his body, but his head's still back there holding the great gaze. With the gentle leader, I can move him around. Patience. That's my one thing I always tell my clients. If I could give you one thing, it would be a huge bag of patience. And learn how to walk away. I use my clients' dogs an awful lot when I'm training, and I usually take the rowdiest dog in the group because I want them to see, A, their rowdy dog can do it, and B, what happens when I get frustrated, and I just call an end to it and say, we'll work with him later. Let's go. We'll go work on a different dog. This is 1 hour in your dog's week. Can any of you honestly raise your hand and say, I am 24/7 perfect? Bet you every one of you has 1 hour a week that you're not too good, okay? Yeah, a lot more for me. You should be a tool for your dog. And if any of you know John Rogerson, I wanted to get a picture of it and I couldn't get a picture of it. He's got his little mustache face and he goes, yeah, this dog, that's his reward. His little mustache face, okay? But his dogs like it. Mine, I wink at them and they go, they grin back. And your heart. You should be able to look in the mirror every morning after you've done something with a client's dog or with your own. If you can't, you might want to look for new employment. So, how about aggression? Most aggression is fear-based. We know that. It's usually improper socialization and improper socialization, okay? Doesn't mean you take your dog to the dog park and let 52 dogs gangbang him and, you know, go, I don't know why he doesn't like other dogs. Well, how about if you had 52 dogs smell your bum, or worse. So, this is always one of the concerns I have. I watch my puppy classes. I go, that dog plays with adults, that dog plays with adults, that dog plays with puppies, that one's playing with adults. They go, how do you know that? I go, here's the deal. Most adult dogs are pretty good with puppies, but you do have some that are not good aunts and uncles. But adult dogs have a tendency to let puppies play and play and play and raise the level of play, okay? And then it's this quick, rah! And the puppy goes, oh, and runs off, okay? But what the puppy learned is you can bring your play up to this level. Bring them in with puppies, and they're like kindergartners. You touched me, you tried to hurt me, you were going to kill me, I'm going to tell the teacher. It's like, no, I just bumped you when I walked by, I'm sorry. And now you have two little kids crying. Same thing with puppies. You touched my tail. And they all run off, okay? And then they sit there and they decide what to do. And then they come back and play, the play's toned down. So you see a difference in the play levels between an adult dog and a puppy. A lot of adult dogs put up with a lot. And usually what happens is they give all the warnings. The puppy goes, oh, I must not be doing it right, I'll do some more. And the adult's like, stop it. I mean it, stop it, get away. Don't come over here. The puppy's like, oh, I'll come underneath and I'll lick you that way now. The adult dog's like, good Lord, take it back. We don't need it. So a lot of this is the stuff that we need to look at. What's happening with this? What type of tools are you using to correct? So is it doable for the client? It's always the bottom line. Is it doable for the client? If it's not doable for the client, you're not going to be able to get it done. How about the dog doesn't listen? What piece of equipment would you use if the dog doesn't listen? What does that really mean when people say the dog doesn't listen? Is he deaf? Maybe they didn't train him. Yeah, there you go. He doesn't speak the language. Yeah, I always like that. It's the infamous sit, damn it, sit. And 3 dogs in class sit. And you go. And the owners go, yeah, that's our command. Well, let's start from the ground up and teach it, okay? Let's not just shout, okay? If I stood up here and shouted this lecture, you wouldn't understand anything more than if I whispered it or if I didn't do it at all, okay? Same thing here. Can the owner comply? Lots of owners can't. Lots of owners can't. I don't know how many times I tell my owners, please stop repeating the command. What's the incentive for the dog to do it if he gets the jackpot? If you go sit, and you give him a handful of treats, or you go sit and you reward him with a head pat on the head or a toy or a treat. What's the difference? Where's the incentive for him? If you did mediocre work at your job and you were getting paid $1,000 an hour, and that's max, I'd like to know your job. What's the incentive for you to do better? Food aggression. Okay, we talked a little bit about that, the old assess a hand and the chow that ate 3 fingers. How about the grabbers that you get at Orchard or something? They're just as good. A broom handle, like I said, that's what I used for a long time. What are the pitfalls of it? Sometimes you can't manage them very quickly, okay? That broom handle was pretty long. It used to get me in trouble every once in a while. So maybe you use something a little shorter, or maybe you make it a little shorter. What else could you use? A leash? Sure. And a lot of times, people say, oh, well, hook them up to an eye bolt, and then first thing you hear is, oh, this is a rental, we can't do that. It's okay, great. Do you have a heavy table? Good, run the leash over around the leg of the heavy table. You start to come down with it, and you pull back, okay? And he learns to not do that. Do that with the dogs that want to eat my face when I'm doing their nails, okay? So there are a lot of ways that you can kind of be innovative. You don't have to buy a lot of equipment, but again, can the owner comply?